Are you able to see?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so this is just essentially the UI and what the users are able to look at. And is there any stock in particular that you would like, or should I just do one of the ones that are up?
We can go ahead with Tesla.
Okay. So the user can just press get prediction button, and it takes a little bit long because we trained our own model and it has like 50 epochs. So that's just essentially, it takes a little bit longer because it's like more accurate for the users and allows like the best representations and like most accuracy once again for the users. And they're just allowed to like learn a lot more about stocks. So
Okay.
let's just wait till it predicts.
So, who are your teammates, Aniket?
Ishan and Anish Kumar.
Okay.
I have like a
So,
about us page, so I could just pull it up like after.
yeah, sure. Why not? Um, you can switch to about a section.
Okay, yeah. So here's like the about our team. So this is just important for the users as it shows like how we're like passionate and like what like our main goals of this website are and like what we contributed through. So here's me, here's Ishan, and here's Anish. And this page is also important for users as it like allows the user to see what technologies we used. So like including libraries and languages. So we could start off with React and TypeScript, and then here's like our API key, TensorFlow and Keras, and Flask for the library. Let me
Okay, great.
see. Yep, so
So,
it has loaded. So here's our model, it's just fonted. So here's the predicted close, here's the actual close, here's today's price, and here's the margin of error. So the users can essentially like see the graph if they need to as like a visual representation. And the green represents our predicted price as the blue represents the actual price. And the users can hover over their mouse over any sort of coordinate they would like. So they could just like understand the model more. And if needed, the user can also just press onto it to zoom into the most like latest and the weakest for the week. And they could press again to zoom back out. There's like two arrows, and these arrows are to look at more past dates. So if we press it, here you could see it changes from like the past few months, and then you could go back. And if the user wants to come back to the most recent date, they could always just come here.
okay, that's great. So, can you explain the margin of error in detail? What is it and does that mean?
Okay, so the margin of error, so it since we run through 50 epochs, it just like it's kind of like maybe like the range. So here's like the highest amount it can predict for the next day's closing and the lowest amount. And the margin of error is essentially just like the values in between. So the maximum range that could come between is $26.53, but the best it thinks it is, the model best thinks it's 306 is the best, rather
Okay,
after 315.
great.
And the user can just also go into many other pages after this. So if a user is like more new to stocks and they don't know how to use it, they can always press on the market news page. So it says loading news and sentiment. So if the user they want to learn more about their stock and see what they're investing into and what happens, here's like a general summary of how they could like look over their stock and just like what their stock in general is. And if the user is still like more interested and they need to learn more about the stock market, there's some recent news that are pretty crucial to it. As like you could just press on any and it'll load into any news that
Okay,
relates to
that's
the
great.
stock.
This is really good.
And
I think you were really thoughtful about putting this. This looks really good.
yeah, yeah. And
And
then
yeah, go ahead.
oh yeah, I was just gonna mention the last page. So there's like a how it works page. And we just essentially chose LSTM model for our stock prediction. And why we chose this is because it's like really important as it remembers trends. And this is just crucial for the stock market as you like need to know like the patterns. It handles noisy data, which LSTMs are robust and like for such fluctuations. And then there's sequential learning. It just processes data in order, just like how stock prices like change over time. Here's how our model works. So these are like the four main steps. So we start off with data collection, one of the most important keys. It needs to know like the previous stock prices and how it works. There's feature engineering. So this just helps like improve accuracy, like the model just learns. There's model training. It just is trained on the past sequences of like any sort of stock that works through USD, and it just recognizes this pattern. And at last, here's like the prediction stage. It just looks over for next day.
Great. So the user interface looks really good and it looks really professional. So who was working on the user interface?
So we started off, we were all technically working on it. So on the UI, so there's like a feature on, it's called live share. So if you send the link to your teammates, all three of you guys could work on the same like project on VS Code or any
Okay.
sort of else. But we like took turns on each sort of page. So we all did the homepage together. Ishan went on the about page. I worked a little bit on the market news, and Anish worked on this page.
Okay. So it looks really good. By the way, what was your role in this project?
So what my mainly worked is through front end. So like obviously making the UI look a little bit better. And I also did a little of back end, like working with API keys for the market news sentiment. So I actually used a Gemini API key here, so it's like better for like the summary. And for this, I just use a news API, and it's just important as like the users can see better.
Okay. So the interface looks really professional. And I think you guys were really thoughtful about putting the market news, how it works, and about a section. The project is really detailed, I would say. And by Shan, I also got to know that your project also tells about the future growth of the stock.
Yeah, it's like
So,
one day after.
like, yeah, so here it says it's green. That means the stock will do better in the future.
Yeah.
So these things are really good. And so, what are your future plans with this project, Aniket?
So me and my teammates, we might just continue to work on it. Obviously, the UI looks good. Maybe we could make it look a little bit better. We could maybe add like another page, or we could just like we could maybe even try to publish it because I truly love this project. And yeah, I think we could also even add like more API keys and like making the website more better for like a customer or like a user if they want to work with it, and just like any recommendations.
So, are you planning to build this as an application or something?
Yeah, so we haven't truly thought about it yet, but I really like this project and I think we could go like a lot better with it too. So we might be considering like making this as an application and publishing it.
That's great. So, again, I think the project is really good, and the interface. I'm repeating myself again and again, but the interface is really good. So, are you planning to participate in some hackathons or any other competitions
Yeah,
in future?
yeah, I've never actually started yet, but like I've like been more interested now because like I love building projects and I guess hackathons is like a competitive way on working on it.
So, how confident do you think you will be while participating in hackathon or some other competitions?
Um, I'm actually pretty confident. My goal for like the by like the end of the summer is probably like do at least 2 hackathons and try to do like decently well on them.
Okay, great. So, I think we can start with the presentation now.
Okay, yeah.
You can show me the presentation and you can tell me about it.
Yeah, so here's a presentation predicting next day's stock closing prices using machine learning by Anish, Aniket, and Ishan. So here's like the problem. Like the stock market presents significant challenges for predictions due to its inherently violent and nonlinear nature. And these are like the three main problems. So there's sequential dependency. Like traditional models, they struggle with time-dependent nature of stock data. There's a news impact, like incorporating sediments from financial news adds valuable context, but also increases the complexity. And here's the violent nonlinear behavior. Stock prices like fluctuate and they're like really unpredictable. So it's just a problem for other models and just models in general. I think I skipped. Okay, so here's our solution for the next day price prediction model. So we're going to start off with data collection. We're just going to gather any data about stocks. We're going to data process, clean, normalize, and transform time series data while extracting sentiment from news. Let me move this. LSTM model, train advanced neural networks to identify patterns in sequential data, and price predictions to generate like most accurate prices for our users and make it the best it can be. I don't know why it's going down. Yeah, okay. So then there's data sources. So we use the Yahoo Finance API. It's just mainly for like the actual stocks, so the model could like analyze financial news articles from trusted sources. So these news are just for the user to learn more about their stock. The FinHub stock API key. This is also like one of the main stock API keys. So like the model could learn based off at the current stock market. The news API key, the same thing as the news articles, and the Gemini API key for like summaries so the users could learn more. And some main technologies we used were Python, TensorFlow, and then we just prioritize like the visuals and like how it looked like the UI and like the graph so the users can see. So here's like the model architecture and it's like training. So there's data pre-processing, so like feature normalization using minimum, maximums like the margin of error, sediments extraction of news headlines, sequence creations with sliding window approach, and then moving on to the second one, LSTM architecture. So input layers accepting price history and multiple LSTM layers with dropout and regularization. So it's just remembering and like determining an output for the price prediction. And then there's a training process. So it uses like 80-20 train test splits and time series validation. There's an atom optimizer with dynamic learning rate, and it's early stopping to prevent overfitting. And at last, there's evaluation. So this is like the actual like the function and the math of the AI. So here's our project impact and our goals. So it has enhanced decision making, so like provides investors with actionable insights and portfolio management with trading decisions. We pray for more risk reduction, helps mitigate financial risk through more accurate price movements and forecasting. Algorithmic trading powers automated trading strategies with next day price predictions, and research contribution, which demonstrates successful integration of structured and unstructured data in financial forecasting. So here's some more future plans that we could maybe work with. So we could start off with social media integration. So if we ever decide to like make it more published, and we could just use social media to like spread it so more users and customers are able to use it. Macroeconomic indicators to integrate like a broader economic data like interest rates with unemployment figures. Portfolio level forecasting expand from single stocks to entire portfolios, accounting for correlations between assets. And ensemble models combine LSTM networks with tree-based models like XGBoost for improved accuracy, and at last, web application to develop institutive interface for investors to access predictions and customize parameters. So that kind of like links in with like the graph the users can see, and it's just important as like the users have like a more visual example of the stock. So here's our like conclusion and maybe our future next steps. So right now our prediction accuracy is like around 86%. We would like love it for it to be much more higher as it's gonna be better and more strong. Like an error reduction. So there's a 20% because it's not as accurate. So we really want to work on our error reduction. Or yeah, we want it to look better and be better. The processing speed, we would love for it to become like a little bit more fast. And our machine learning model successfully demonstrates that combining historical price data with the new sediment, which significantly improves next day stock price predictions. This project lays in the groundwork for more sophisticated financial forecasting tools and adapt dynamic market conditions. Thank you. By Anish, Aniket, and Ishan.
Great. So, is there a particular reason that you chose this topic? Are you personally interested in finance or stock market?